Hi guys, just got done watching Urban Legends Final Cut from 2000, the sequel to Urban Legends, which I really enjoyed the first film a lot actually. I've got on Blu-ray and I've got the second one right here, Urban Legends Final Cut on DVD. I've probably seen this film about 8 times in the past. And to be honest with you, it's one of those films, one of those weird films that I really enjoy, but at the same time, it drags a little bit. It feels like in between it drags a lot. And I'm always like, come on, get on with it. Come on, get on with it. I remember watching it on VHS and it was in a pure black case and it looked so nice when it first came out. It was beautiful to look at. And when I watched the film for the first time, I absolutely loved it. I thought this movie's fantastic. This movie's great. To be fair, I was 12 at the time, so I didn't have much taste, you know. But the film is still good. It's a little bit dated now, just a tiny bit, but we'll get into that in a minute. So basically, the film stars Jennifer Morrison, Matthew Davis playing two roles, Hart Bochner, who was known for being in Terror Train in 1980. It was so good seeing him in this because this is like 20 years later and he still looks the same. Amazing. Just a little bit older. Loretta Devine reprises her role as Reese, like because she was Reese in the first movie. One of the problems with the Reese character in this movie was that they underutilized the character. She didn't get used enough. She should have been used a lot more because she was a big funny point of the movie. Joseph Lawrence, Anson Mount, Eva Mendes was in this before she got bigger, before she became bigger and then went down again. Jessica Cuffle, Anthony Anderson again is in this, but he's playing the same role he plays in every movie, where he's like that joker, laughable bloke. Michael Bacall as Dirk, Marco Hoshranai, Derek Asland, and so forth. And then you've got Rebecca Gayheart playing Brenda Bates again. Now you may think, oh, Brenda Bates, oh, I liked her in the first movie. She's in the second movie, but she's in it right at the end, kind of like a cameo. Okay, so basically the movie starts where there's a plane in the sky. And they're on the plane, these people, and there's two people making out. And and one of them is Sandra. Can't remember the other guy's name. But anyway, and basically there's a woman scared on the plane and the bloke turns to him and says, oh, planes don't fall out of the sky. Basically there was a story about a thing that was on the flight plane and planes don't go all the time, down all the time, but government conspiracies, you know, cover it up. So basically you've got Sandra in the toilet or the restroom, wherever you are. That's just two things of it. And basically her boyfriend's going down on her and it says, you're going down. And she says, you're going down. He goes, I sure am, brother. So basically it's a murderer on the plane. They find out, they get in the cockpit and they're trying to apply and she goes, no, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And then you realise that they're filming. But it's not actually happening, it's on a film. But basically Sandra can't act for crap. So you're sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? This is a fairly good start. You find out that basically Travis is a bit of a joker. What I mean by that is he's a bit horrible, a bit mean, a bit over the top. And then basically you get to meet the lead character, who is Amy Mayfield, played by Jennifer Morrison, who, to be honest with you, you kind of get an instant liking to her because she's a really, really nice person who's basically just trying to, you know, achieve her goals and study. So a little while later, we see a woman. She's in a bar talking to some of the characters from the film, some of the guys, and the guys look at her, and someone gives her a drink, and she gets drugged. She wakes up, and her kidney's gone. Now, urban legend alert, this is an urban legend. You wake up with your kidney gone. So she gets up, and she looks down the hallway, and there's the person there. You don't see him, obviously, because otherwise they could sell film away. But they come towards her. She locks the door, and she tries to get out the window. She goes out. The killer gets in, pulls her in, because when she made the phone call earlier, they didn't believe her. And As he pulls her in, she looks up and goes, oh, and the killer slams the glass down on her and cuts her throat, basically, and then throws her kidney out, and the dog eats it. I really like that. I remember watching that originally going, yeah! My 12-year-old self, oh, mummy, I can't believe it. Oh, I'm so excited. What's going to happen next? That was 12-year-old me. So we move on, and basically we find out that things are different, that Sandra now, for some reason later on in the film, she can't find her keys. And I'm sitting there going, why can't she find her keys? And it turns out her keys are in one of the special effects bloody areas on the floor. And I'm thinking, how the hell did her keys get there? You know, call Columbo. I'm stalking those keys. But anyway, so she picks it up, and it turns out the killer's recording her. Like this. He's got the camera, he's like... So he chases her through like half the place on the film. You don't see it, but you see it when it gets shown in the cinema room. And she gets killed. She's like, and they're going, oh, she's been really good. But Amy believes it's real because she disappears. And it's just so bad, but it's cool. So at the same time, Simon, later on, when they're practicing screaming, he gets knocked over the head with like a bell thing. And the killer's about to kill him. And he goes like this. This is him, mate, on the floor like this. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help. And he gets killed. But apparently Travis committed suicide the exact same night Simon got killed. But nobody can prove any of these people got killed. So they find out Travis died, basically, and everybody's gutted because he was like a great, great guy. And later on in the film, he turns up again. That's right, Travis is back. Yep, he's back. But then we find out it's not Travis. It's his twin brother, who's identical, called Trevor. That's right, Trevor. So basically, they're going around trying to figure out how Travis got murdered, where these people are going. And there's some good scenes. There's a great bit in the Tunnel of Terror, which is a good bit, where the killer's wearing a wig and like miner's outfit with a hat on, with the fencing mask on, which was really funny because it was like, I really liked that. I thought that was hysterical. I was laughing through half the movie. There's a bit where the killer basically confronts Amy and smashes in the thing because she gets the tape, which is basically proof that someone was murdered. And she's hiding and he's pressing the piano because she's down on it. So she throws the tape. Well, she loses the evidence then, doesn't she? Runs out, falls into the water, and he's going after her and she bumps into Race. Now, Race, at the beginning of the film, fairly shortly at the beginning of the movie, Race basically tells her the story of what happened in the first one. The first movie. But she obviously doesn't say it's her, but it's implied to be her, which is obvious if you've seen the first movie. So you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, Reese is great. I love it. I love Reese. I think she's a great character and felt like in this movie she had been used a lot more because she was excellent in that. And I think you were supposed to think at one point she was the killer, but it was impossible because Reese is so lovable. You're like, come on, be on the screen more. A lot of the characters in this, a lot of the characters, like the minor characters, weren't used as much as they should have been. There wasn't enough character development for them. And that was kind of disappointing. Even though I knew this because I've seen it before, it was disappointing because I've always felt like it would have been good. Like you find out that Eva Mendes' character, Vanessa Valdion, is a lesbian. And because she says to Simon at one point, if you were a woman, I'd totally sleep with you. And she gets picked up by a girlfriend. But I'd like to have got to know more about that character. More of a openness, you know. Same with all of them. Toby, Sandra, Stan, Dirk, Simon. I'd like to have known more about them. It sounds silly, but I would have. Because this film's very... It's like... How can I put it? This film is one of those films where it's a slasher, but it kind of feels like they're trying to go for a deepness to it, but it just doesn't hit that note perfectly. It doesn't hit the way you think it should. So basically, there's a bit in it where they're going around and they're looking, and basically she lays in bed with Trevor, and she goes, "Please don't leave me. please stay here tonight because you're scared. So he goes, sure. And then you see him having sexual intercourse, and they're like, oh yeah, oh, oh. And while they're doing it, he pulls out a knife. You're like, oh, Trevor's the murderer. And then she wakes up, and you're like, oh. So so basically go for it. They think Toby's the one who stole Travis's film and killed Travis. So basically they kidnap him and they tie him to a chair, well, handcuff him to a chair, and they've got him in the room, right on the set. Now this part is going to be a spoiler, okay? So I'm warning you beforehand, this is the spoiler section. So I'm warning you now. So basically, and then all of a sudden, Professor Solomon turns to his sister and goes, what's happening? And Travis, you're still alive? So basically, he goes, Toby stole my film, he did the sound, blah, 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 pretend to be Travis. So basically he goes, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, you were going to give me the credit so I could, graduate. And he's like, huh? And then basically Professor Solomon goes, so I was going to give you a pass when you didn't do it, and basically shoots him. And you think, oh, Toby's dead. It's not. But you think Toby's dead. And then this big thing ensues where he goes, who the hell are you? Well, who the F are you? I killed Travis. I put a gun in his mouth and I pulled the trigger. And you're like, okay. I pulled the gun and I pulled the trigger. And you're like, okay. So basically a big fight ensues and he pulls the gun out. He's got the gun out on Trevor and on Amy. And one of the other characters decides to smash a chair on his back. Well, he goes, that's only in the films, you idiot. And then there's this big fight in shows. Reese turns up, and basically the guns go everywhere. And they've got all these replica guns for the film that fly all over the floor. And they all go to pick up a gun. And you're like, who's got the right gun? Well, in today's world, you know who it's going to be. It's obviously going to be the main good person. Because nobody ever changes it up. So Trevor tries to shoot him, doesn't work. And basically Amy says to Professor Solomon, you know what they say, those who can't do, teach. And he goes, and it doesn't shoot, and he's like, oh. And she basically has the gun, he jumps her, and she shoots him, and at the end, then you see this person with a sniper rifle with the Hitchcock Awards, and you're like, oh no, she's going to die. And basically, Reese shoots him and he goes flying off. It turns out to be for Amy's film, which she's making. So basically, then there's a bit at the end of the scene where basically Professor Solomon is in, I guess, a home, like a home for people who need help. And Brenda Bates says to him, I guess we've got a lot in common, And she's pushing him along, and it's got dud, 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 and all that. And you're like, this is a cool moment, adding them both together. Now, this was really well directed by John Ottman. I thought it was great. But the one thing I don't like is the fact that they didn't take advantage of using Professor Solomon and Brenda Bates in a third movie together. Because that would have been so cool if they'd have been in a movie together. Because the first movie was great, and I always liked how crazy she was in it. Fantastically crazy. And I kind of liked how he was crazy in this. And it would have been even better if you'd have found out they were related in some way. Like he was her cousin, Or he was her sister who had a sex change into a man. Whatever. I don't know. So it's a good film. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, I felt like they really needed to develop more of the characters. I felt like the kills could have been a little bit more better. I'm glad that they were still based on urban legends. And I was also glad that the killer was different. Like, in the first one, the killer had a hood on and was going around. In this one, they had a fencing mask on and a long leather jacket, which I really liked. I like that look. It's surprising how effective that look is. Because you see the smoke coming out the mask, like, through the metal, and you can see all these different things, and it really works. I liked all the characters, to be honest. I liked them all. There were some I felt were overacting a bit, but I'm not going to name them because if I do, then I have to go through the whole cast and crew. But most of them worked. Anthony Anderson was himself, like I said earlier. He's the same in practically every movie, whether it be Exit Wounds, Close to the Grave, Big Mama's House, you know, or this. Eva Mendes, she's the same kind of thing as well, but playing a lesbian who basically believes at one point that Amy's in love with her and she sent her a note. She gets killed. So the movie's good. I enjoyed it. I'd probably give it a 3.5 because as much as I like this movie, things have changed a lot since then and it has dated a bit. And it's in the middle, if you ask me. It's in the middle between being good from the 80s, 90s and being good between now. It's really in the middle of that. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 because even though I've seen it so many times, I still enjoy it. I never really believed the whole Trevor Travis thing. I always thought the ending would have been better if it turned out that Trevor actually was Travis and Travis had killed people and the killer was Travis. And I always thought that would have been a better ending because it would have been something we wouldn't have expected. You know, if Professor Solomon had killed Toby, then Travis had killed him, and it turned out that Professor Solomon had been tricked into doing this stuff or whatsoever, it would have been a great storyline. I really want something new. If there's one thing I've noticed about slasher movies from watching a lot of them lately, it's they all have the same formula practically. There's nothing new. Bring something new. It's not that hard, is it, to make something new? Look at Saw. Saw, yep, different kind of movie. But nobody expected Jigsaw / Tobin Bell to get up off of the floor, did they? At the beginning of that movie. That's one of the things that make that movie so special. So that's basically what I'm thinking, to be honest. I might create my own slasher movie. Yeah. But yeah, so I recommend giving it a watch if you haven't. Watch the first one first. They've got nothing in common other than Brenda Bates being in the second one at the end or it being about urban legends. But the first one has Robert Englund in it, which, even though he's kind of like a weird professor, he's not anything big in it. It's kind of like Reese's in this movie. He's in it for a few bits. So, yeah, I recommend giving it a watch. It's still one of the good horror movies I've seen. It's got some good scares. And what I like is the use of the urban legends. That's what I like seeing. So, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of Urban Legends, the final cut, down below. And have a lovely day. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.